So thank you all, each and every one of you, for being here today. I initially was not going to read those snippets from your bios. I was just going to read your position and your institution. But then I started to think about it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to be a Black woman with an earned doctorate. It is a big deal to be a Black woman doing all of these amazing things to make the schooling experience for our children better. And so I wanted people to have the opportunity to just hear a little bit about what each of you are doing. So before I even get into my first real question, which is how did this group come together? Oh, and I also want to acknowledge that two of your members aren't here, right? But we still want to honor them in their absence. Doctors Benita Little and Goldie Mohammed. I would be remiss if I didn't say their names because they're with us here today in spirit. But before I even get to asking you how this collective came to be, can someone say a word or two about the importance of just acknowledging all that we have accomplished and done? I said it was important to read those bios, but why is it necessary for us to name the things that we have done and to celebrate each other? What I loved, not just about when I was reading the introductions, but I've only been in your presence twice. And what you do, you're always hyping each other up, right? I love that. So, why do you think it's important that when we are in spaces together and when we are apart, that we are acknowledging the work that we've each done and also celebrating and supporting that work?
So I'll kick it off. And thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to belabor the point, but I want to on behalf of all of us, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And belaboring is not in gratitude. But I want to shout out Elder Sister Barbara Omalade, who says that we are part of a tradition that is just now coming to light through higher education, through various forms of research, but it isn't that we haven't been here. We've been having these conversations for centuries. We are just opening the space to have you come in to hear us talk. We and when Black women invite you into the space, that means that there is a level of trust that is being extended to you. There's a call to action that is being extended to you, and there's an intimacy that we want to share. And so that's been a part of our organic coming together, is that there was a call of action that we kind of got together, but we were also just silly and fun and mothers and wanted to talk and not always talk about this labor, but what it means to have Black titties and have people sucking at the nip all the time, but also what it means to nourish each other. And so this is a conversation that we have amongst each other, and we know that it's been healing for us, so we want to share it globally.
I love that. Anybody else want to chime in on that note?
You know what Sister Billy said, but Sister Danette, you are so powerful. I feel your energy. Like I'm over here hyped. It's enough that I'm with four of my six sisters. And then there is you. And there are the two sisters who will perform tonight. And there's Brother Nate in the background. I just want to say thank you and thank Billy. And she'll talk more for kind of creating this in her mind, pulling us together for things that we were already doing, loving on each other, but making it a little bit more formal. But really, Sister Danette, we want to thank you for your presence, for being with us.
Well, thank you. I'm your main hype woman today. That's my job. And I am excited to play it out all the way till, we get to 5:30. So I want to go back to just the origin of Dope Black Women Collective. And if you're following the chat, someone already put in there, how can I be down with the Dope Black Women Collective? Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about the way that you all approach this is that there is room at the table for all of us, right? Yeah. And what I love about the spirit in which you do your work and in which you come together is if there isn't room at the table, you make room at the table. Mm-hmm. So can you just start us off by saying how this group of women, plus the other two who aren't with us today, came together to form what is now the Dope Black Women's Collective?
I'm gonna let Billy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Billy. That's Billy's story. So
Yes.
story, and y'all will have to excuse us because we're gonna talk how we usually talk. We just like we're inviting you in. But before Billy tells the story of how we came together, I want to respond to Danette's initial question, and that is that sisterhood sustains me. Sisterhood sustains Yolanda. Sisterhood sustains Kiana. Sisterhood sustains Billy. Sisterhood sustains Goldie. Sisterhood sustains Bettina. And that is important because we are in a space. We live in a society. We live in a world. We live in this society. We live in this country. We live in this institution, or we work in this institution that would have us to believe that to be Black and woman, you can't or you shouldn't work in collaboration.
That's right.
That is a very Eurocentric way of existing. Our embodied Black womanhood is sustained by other Black women bodies. It is very important for us to be in communication, to be in collaboration, to be in these kinds of dialogic, intimate spaces where we are edified, where we can be vulnerable, right? Because we Black women, so we've got that. You got to be strong. We don't have to be strong. Here's a space where we can constantly come undone. And it's a safe space, and it's a welcome thing to say, I don't have it all together today.
That's right.
And when we start, we're gonna always be honest. How you feeling today, girl? I'm tired and I'm hungry, right? Like whatever it is.
How was your heart
That's
going?
because we lean into something.
Goldie, how's your
Don't
heart?
shy away from it. And so for anybody who's listening to us right now, lean into it. Don't let this institution tell you that you can't or you shouldn't be sisterly.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Amen to that.
Don't let these titles tell you that. Don't let these publications tell you that.
Amen
right.
to
Don't
that.
let none of this tell you that. And I'll
Amen
say
to
that
that.
when I think it was the same year I met Tina, Dr. Sean Ricks was at a conference, and her and her other sisters were presenting on the fact that one of the critiques of Black women that gather is that we are chronically codependent. Chronically codependent. What kind of mess is that? If we didn't have a network, y'all wouldn't be alive. So, how we got together, Sister Yolanda and Sherelle are way too gracious in giving me credit for this, because we all know each other through different spaces and home and friendship, take care of each other's children. We call each other best friends and godmothers and other mothers. And so it just so happened that one year at the American Educational Research Association, AERA, conference in New York, which is generally a very white space that replicates the same sort of hostilities that we have to navigate every day, we found ourselves together. Three of us work in the hip hop SIG, and Yoli, she hip hop, I'm saying? We all hip hop. Like, let me just be clear about that. And so it was, we got to eat. So it's like, yo, let's go do brunch. And in this brunch, we started, Sherelle broke out the crystals, and Yolanda broke out Yolanda. And we started talking about what are our words for today? What are our words for this year? And it was, how do we keep this going? Like, let's not do this. And so all of us are responsible for so many things. We're leaders in so many different ways. So I believe somebody was like, oh, well, let's do this again at AERA, or we have this booth that we're going to rent out at AERA. So collectively was like, well, I'll get a Google Doc together. Like, I'm the Google Doc person. I'm the Excel spreadsheet. And then it became, okay, well, where can we go talk? And so my institution said, look, we need to have more representation and more visibility of transparent, abolitionist-minded, co-conspirating folks. And I'm like, well, I got 5 sisters that's called Dope Black Women Collective. Let's go. And so that's been the impetus. And for so many other folks to say, across lines, across binaries or whatever, to say, I see myself when I hear y'all, is like, oh my God, thank you. Because when I started graduate school, this is why I started school, because I wanted to be with other Black women. And the fact that I didn't see us was painful. So yeah. So we pull each other in all the time. You know, I had the first round, Yoli got the next round, Sherelle got the flyers. You know, it's collective, straight up.
Kiana was about to say something. I'm reading your eyes, sis.
Don't act like you know me when you do. No, I was just I shared with you. I thought I shared it with the group, but Billy, apparently, I think I just sent it to you. That was our picture from our very first brunch that we had at AERA, and I very often look back at that picture and think about that day when it was very organic. But then, like, you know, like Billy said, we have all been in contact with one another in various capacities for years. So the sisterhood, the collective, the dopeness was already there. And it's just been over the last 2 years that we actually just put a name to it.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. And
And
you know,
it's not, let me say this too, real quick. It's not exclusive. There are 6 of us, but we are connected to so many other peers. Like, and I have to shout out who I'm wearing. This is from Dr. Cynthia Dillard, who works in
Yes.
Ghana. So, you know, Dr. Mother Dillard, you know, Dean Dillard. Let me
Yes.
be clear.
Yes.
You know, we are connected to so many incredibly powerful folks that this is a sampling. And when you talk to one of us, you are talking to ancestors, elders,
Yes.
children. You talking to a whole bunch of folks.
And get into that body yaddy yaddy I saw, Billy, when you took that step back.
I'm seeing her. I'm watching all of this. I'm watching all of this. You see, I try to show up in a tuxedo and you come looking like fly and gorgeous. I'm gonna go change my clothes, y'all. I'm about to shut my camera off.
Right. Be right back. So, you know, I think you all need a theme song because every superhero has a theme song, and certainly a collective of superheroes needs a theme song. So I've been thinking a little bit about this, and I would like to suggest for your consideration Lizzo's Juice, because my favorite line from that song is, I wrote it down. I think it was, when I shine, everybody's got to shine, because there's enough shine for all of us. And she repeats that refrain over and over again. And that is just the sentiment that keeps coming out from each of you. You know, if one of you shines, you all celebrate that victory. You all celebrate and cheer on each other whenever you're doing the good work. And so maybe that's not the song, but I would suggest that you think about what you want to be your theme song. So the next time you are doing a panel, your intro music can be your theme song. Okay.
Wow.
So I want to move on to talk a little bit about, you know, how you all are making sense of where we are in this moment in time. If you were to ask some people, and have you marked the last year? They might say, you know, we've been in the midst of a pandemic for a year. We have witnessed a reckoning around race, the likes of which this country hasn't seen in decades. We saw the insurgents take over the Capitol, and yet there is much to find joy in. Right? We saw throngs of people celebrate as the first Black woman became the Vice President of the United States. And so what I have heard from each of you is that we can choose to find joy even during difficult times. So Dr. Celie Ruiz, I'm going to kick this one over to you. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you have found joy, how you find joy, how you choose joy, even in the midst of circumstances that might not seem joyous?
Yes, beautiful question from a beautiful sister. And, you know, joy is happening right now. I'll have to tell you, there are folks on this line, Shireen and Melissa, Yadi. I mean, just folks, how we lift each other up on Twitter, on IG, on Facebook. So that in and of itself is joy, that it really broke through that isolation field and the way that we love on one another and lift each other up. But I would have to say very poignantly that joy came through. It certainly comes through my sisters, but I wrote through joy. I wrote through pain and I wrote through joy. And so Love from the Vortex, I'm so grateful that that kind of had this opportunity to come about. Thank you, Sissy. In the COVID, and one of the sisters here, Kiana, who is an incredible candle maker, you know, she has created the Love Vortex candle. We're playing with the name. We're about to reissue it again. And I'll say this, that I just finished a second book of poetry called The Peace Chronicles. And Kiana is going to create a peace candle. And so I write through my pain, I write through my joy, I lift up my sisters, I receive the love that I give. And I'm also out here doing this work. And I'm so grateful for the work, because if I didn't have the work, I think that I would internalize a lot of what we see and I would be angry. But instead of being angry, I have a righteous anger. Let me be clear about that. But I have a joy in being able to engage people and moving their hearts along so that they can see the full humanity of others. Thank you for that.
No, thank you. And wow, you said so much in that one response. And you know, sometimes one of the things I struggle with in full transparency is, you know, not feeling guilty for that joy that I'm able to find. And at the same time, things sometimes aren't joy filled, right? You have to choose to find the joy. And so during our prep call, I know that some of you were talking about resiliency as a strategy, as a tool, and its relation to joy. Can someone pick up on that, please? I love how you all give each other space and room to speak. That's what's happening here. They're all waiting for each other to see who would like to take the mic.
I think.
Yeah, Kiana.
No, go ahead. Who was that?
No, that was you. I was going to say it's between you and Sherelle, but then I saw you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, like, extending the conversation a little bit about joy, definitely choosing joy, and then also choosing not to engage in conversations or in work or in, you know, situations that are going to steal that joy. I have, you know, I've had conversations with some colleagues who are just now coming to this racial awakening or whatever type of awakening you want to call it, and they want to have these conversations with me. I'm like, I've been here. This has been my life. So I don't know who you need to talk to right now, but I'm not talking about that, because that takes from my joy. That's not the work that I'm doing right now. So not only choosing joy, but also choosing to stay away from or to say no as a complete sentence to those things that are going to steal our joy. So boundaries are absolutely important in coming and thinking about our joy. And when it comes to resilience, one of the, and Yola, you said this earlier, but one of the biggest things I think for me with regards to resilience is my sisters. Like, we have not, this is not just, you know, just for the Zoom. This is not just for this is what we do on the regular, whether it's a text, whether Yoli and her beautiful voice messages. I love her voice. But surrounding yourself with people, women, in my case, my sisters, and when I say my sisters, these on the Zoom, as well as my sisters who were birthed from the same mother, as well as my sisters who I know from other experiences, being surrounded by those are the people who encourage me to be resilient. So we take moments, we take time to you know, say, sis, I'm tired. I don't feel like it today. I'm not going to do this today. One of the conversations I had earlier this week with another sister, Shanice, this week, I said, you know what? My word for the week is discipline, because I feel like I have been procrastinating on some things and I've been blaming it on perfectionism, but really it's about discipline. So we had that conversation and I have been trying to be disciplined, and even something like that contributes to my resilience. So, you know, saying no, surrounding yourself with people who are going to motivate you, and being self-reflective and knowing when you are not doing what you said you were going to do.
Thank you, Kiana. And I often repeat to myself, no is in fact a complete sentence, right? I was very clear about that no. So believe it or not, we are already up for our first musical interlude. We're going to have much more discussion with the Dope Black Women Collective. We're going to talk about how to show up as your authentic self in the academy, how to pull on the strength of our ancestors. But first, we are going to be delightfully entertained by Miss Keandra Lockett. Now, she is a soulful, inspirational artist with a fervor for kingdom building. She's one of the original members of the gospel group Ziel and shares the accomplishment of being a 2-time Stellar Award nominee. That's awesome. She shared the stage with great artists that we've all heard of, such as Yolanda Adams, Karen Clark Sheard, the Clark sisters, Kirk Franklin, Mary, and many, many more. So if you could join me in welcoming Miss Keandra Lockett.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say that this is super dope to be able to see well-spoken, educated Black women. This is an example for me. I'm a Black entrepreneur, but to see you guys talk about sisterhood and those types of things is just really dope for me. And it's an example of how Black women can come together and work well together. So thank you guys for that example. You guys spoke about joy and different things like that, but the only way that we could even have the things that we have right now is because of the joy of the Lord. And so I decided to sing this song called I Love the Lord by Whitney Houston, and I hope you guys enjoy. I love the Lord. He heard my cry and pity every groan. Oh, long as I live and trouble rise, I'll hasten to his throne. Oh, I love the Lord. I love the Lord. He heard my cry and pity long as I live and troubles rise,
Wow.
I'll hasten to his throne. Oh, I'll hasten to his throne. I'll hasten to his throne. Oh, I'll hasten to his throne. No matter what happens, no, I'll no matter what comes my way, I'll hasten to his throne. God will hasten to his throne.
My God.
Keandra.
Wow. Oh, sister. That went straight to my soul.
Thank you for blessing us with that beautiful selection. And I have a 10-year-old son, and I'm trying to teach him that when you really like something, you can throw something at it. I want to throw something at my computer screen because I was touched by that selection. I hope he begins to understand that that's a good thing when somebody wants to throw something at you. So thank you, Sister Keandra, for joining us today.
Andrew, you saying that.
Oh.
I'm like, I'm trying to keep it together for the next hour.
Yeah.
Sis, are you sitting down? Did you sing that sitting down?
Sitting down.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
I am.
Okay.
Did y'all remember that Anita Baker thing? I think it was in the 80s. He was just sitting in the chair and just singing. Sis, that's what you took me back to, where Anita, it was just like she was just talking, sitting in the chair, singing Sweet Love.
Influences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Effortless. That's right. Thank you so much, Keandra.
I'm going to just say, dope Black women are women who operate in their gift unapologetically, without limitation, and give permission for other Black women, create space for other sisters to operate in their gift fully.
Come on, Billy.
So that sister know her gift. So
Yes.
thank you.
Definition. Billy, did you write? Oh, this is recorded, so we can write that down. That's the
definition. That was the definition.
There you go.
You know what we need to do? We need to
Yeah.
have like a dope Black women collection of something, and some of the sisters on this call, and just have essays come in. And Billy, that could be the opening of this book, this collection that we create. And
There
women
it
can
is.
send in their artwork, send in their poetry,
Come
send
on.
in their essays.
Come
And
on.
Billy, that what you just said, and even have Sister Keandra write something about engaging her gift of song. I think
Come on.
that's one of our next projects.
Right.
See, and
It
this is how
is.
stuff be happening.
There it
Yep,
is.
just yep.
Organically.
And Sister Donette will write the foreword.
Come on.
And we'll have Brother Nate write
Yes.
the afterword, right?
love
Because he's the originator of this. So there, right there, we have a project.
Have it.
That's right. So what you just said about how you define being a dope Black woman is really anchored in showing up as your authentic self, and then operating in whatever gifts you've been given. But you are each in the academy. You are operating in a system that was literally not created for us. And yet you are still thriving and succeeding and showing up as your authentic self. That is not an easy thing to do. And I don't think that we can take it for granted that everyone instinctually knows how to do that thing that you have figured out. So, Sherelle, we started this conversation by celebrating the fact that you have just achieved tenure in this academy, in this system that wasn't created. I don't think, I don't want to call out any particular institution, but I know the institutions where each of you are, and I don't think that those founders could have ever imagined women like you being in those spaces and earning tenure. So, Dr. Sherelle MacArthur, talk to us a little bit about how you've navigated that role and still maintained the essential essence of who you are. Because I think that that's what more of us need to understand. You can do the things you want to do without losing the person that you are and the person that you like, right?
Yes.
So can you speak to that a little bit? And then others, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah. The academy is a vehicle. It is not my home. I use it for my aims. I don't build respite in that space. So, you know, as long as I have a platform, I dedicated when I was in my doctoral studies, as long as I had a platform, Black girls got to be everywhere that I was. It's who I do all the work that I do for. I do it for us. And so I utilize the resources that comes with a privilege of having a position in an institution. I don't want to say that that isn't a privilege, right? Because there are plenty of people who are looking for work and desire to be on this track or that track, right? But my identity was never rooted in accolade of the institution. When it's all said and done, I want to look at Black girls and say, have I done right by us in the work that I write? When I'm in a space like this and I have the ability to speak for us, to tell our stories, when I show up in any capacity, that's who I'm there for. And so I think that there's some level of reckoning that we all have to do individually. You know, when we are caught up in the numbers, when we are caught up in the game of the institution, we have to ask ourselves, we have to check our ego. Why am I here? What am I doing this for? Listen, and if your dream is to be, you know, full and, you know, have all of these things and have all the accolades and the awards and go for it. Go for what you know. But that wasn't why I came here. So I'm still on my mission, right? So I'm glad that Keandra has just taken us to this space because I'm still living in my purpose. And my purpose had nothing to do with the institution, right? I was given a variety of gifts and a variety of no wherewithal in order to support particular demographics. That's the work that I do. And, you know, before I pass it to somebody else, you know, and Yoli was talking about, you know, we the collection going, we're gonna let other dope Black sisters come in and they're gonna write the poetry, they're gonna have the artwork, and we all laughing, right? But the reality is that we lean into ourselves. There's nothing that Yoli just said that the other 74 people who are watching right now don't do all the time, either by themselves or with their friends. They say, we should do this, we should do that, but they don't lean into themselves. We got to remove the self-doubt. We got to remove the imposter syndrome, right? This idea of I can't, I'm not capable, I'm not able to do this thing. My father's mother lived to 103 last year, and she told me when she was picking farm, she didn't make it out of grade school. My mother's mother didn't make it out of high school. She started an apprenticeship with a chef, and she just became a chef. And here I am with 3 degrees, and I've just made 10. Ain't no imposter here. Ain't nothing I do an imposter. Everything that I do is real. Everything that I do is authentic. And I'm no different from anybody else that's watching. You know your story. You know your ancestors. You know your elders. It ain't no imposter. When you are living, existing, working within a system that wasn't built for you, like Danette said, she said, look, the founders, where would they be if they knew that you just got tenure at their institution? It ain't no imposter. You worked hard to be where you are. You got to remove all of that self-doubt. You got to speak back to it. Tell yourself that I'm able, that I'm capable, that I'm brilliant.
Yes.
And that you got to lean into it. Ain't no application to be a dope Black one. You just dope. We just dope. And we said, you know what? Of all the dope Black women, we gonna call ourselves dope Black women, and we gonna do dope Black shit. That's what we did.
Yes.
And it's no different from what anybody else could do.
Yes.
Do it.
Yes.
She just answered for me. I ain't got nothing else to say.
Well,
Preach the word.
You know what I was thinking is that somebody needed to hear that message, and I think I'm somebody. Like I'm the somebody maybe that needed to hear that. And I'm looking across my screen and I'm seeing all of these nonverbal affirmations, and there are a lot of somebodies that needed to hear that, right? So the power of dope Black women is that you have each other to speak those things, even though you know it. Like, we know that, right? We're smart people cerebrally, but sometimes you need somebody to speak it to you. So, Billy, I saw you snapping. Did you want to add in there?
Oh, I did want to jump in. I'm gonna keep wanting to jump in. My spirit is full and it's jumping. So let me just say that. So thank you, Sister Danette, for the way that you are moderating to keep me in check. So and I want to lift up Sister Tina again, who's not here. I remember being in a room with her when she was talking to Dr. Dillard last year, and she went off about imposter syndrome because she said it's not a real thing for us. Imposter syndrome is just a veil of white terrorism to tell us that we're not good enough. We're still comparing ourselves to them, to folks who are average, to folks who are in the back of the room who got by on somebody else's granddaddy, whatever. So imposter syndrome has never been our thing. And Dr. Sherelle just dropped the mic on all of that. And so Sister Danette, when you said, like, you know, you all are in the academy, I'm going to lift up Sister Yoli and say, yeah, we're in the academy, but we're not of the academy. This is not our world. This is not who we are. We are of God. We are of Harriet. We are of Mary. We are of each other. So when it gets hard, because we are on the plantation and told us we were never supposed to be here, we were never supposed to be able to read, we have each other. We came into this place with our own gifts. They give us a salary, but we know who we are. And that has to be re-emphasized over and over and over again, because sometimes you can drink the Kool-Aid. And the thing about feeling guilty, especially in a time of COVID, is that my sisters and my mentors and my mothers have told me, be grateful. Be grateful. That the other side of feeling guilty is to be grateful and to extend yourself, to know that, yes, you have privilege. Yes, you have a seat and you can make your own table. So what are you doing with it? If I'm just sitting here, then, you know, I ain't. So in my gratitude, it is talking to God, talking to Yemiya, talking to my sisters, talking to saying scriptures, talking to my inner child. And I want to lift up my sister's work, Azania, around hopscotch healing. I just named my inner child today so we can go kick it and have fun. I need to claim her. I want to lift up Kiana real quick because this might be too much information, but things getting tight around here. She sent me a negligee, was like, girl, get off the computer and go be with your partner. And, you know, like, sometimes you need somebody to remind you that you're sexy. So, you know, this world is a facade and it is a vehicle. It's because we work in capitalism. We understand how this goes. So we got the skill set. We got the privilege to operate with their tools to get what we need to get for our folks. So, you know, this ain't our primary identity.
Kiana.
I want to add one quick thing. I want to start with a quote, because as each of my sisters was speaking, I was thinking about my go-to work very often related to poetry and being a woman and being a Black queer woman, which is Audre Lorde. And her piece, Poetry is Not a Luxury, that I legit read at least once every other week and legit get something different from it each time I read it. Like, oh, how did I miss that the other 500,000 times that I read this piece? But this is just from the beginning of the piece. She says that the quality of light by which we scrutinize our lives has direct bearing upon the product we live and upon the changes which we hope to bring about through those lives. Imposter syndrome is nothing but judging what we do by whiteness as a quality of light. That is not our light. Whiteness is not our light. And if as Michelle Obama said in that interview, I think it was with Oprah, I've been at some of these tables. We've been at a lot of these tables. Trust me, we belong at the table, at the head of many of them, if not all.
You know, sis, when you talk about light, you make me think of Sister Amanda Gorman and the last stanza of her poem, where she says that there is always light if we are brave enough to be it, if we are brave enough to see it. And we do understand the light that is within us. And this is how we're able to operate. And sometimes when that light dims a little, that's when I get a text from my sisters out of the blue. It's almost like Sherelle knows, Goldie knows, Billy, Kiana, Bettina, just out of the blue, but sometimes usually on a Sunday morning. I love you. And that does everything. So my sisters see the light that is within me, the light that Amanda talks about, the light that Sister Audrey Lorde, the light that allowed Harriet Tubman to free 100,000 enslaved people in the Underground Railroad. This is who we are. So this is how I'm just trying to live my life, to be a good ancestor for those who put the light in me before I was born. It is the light. You just keep walking in the light, y'all.
I just want to add this to our conversation on light. And I know that you got to keep us going. When you find your people or find people that allow you to be dark too, not all of the days are light.
And there can be
not all the days do you feel like giving light. Look, a couple weeks ago, last year, launched a business, had to go, I wasn't even on Instagram before the business, had to go to really be in the community. So I saw that as a numbers thing, right? The more people who follow me, I must be making an impact. People started trying to make fraudulent accounts. Instagram shut my account down. What? Kiana, like, sis, I'm just done. Like, I can't start over from zero. And she said, you ain't done. It ain't no quit, but being willing to be dark. Somebody say, how you doing? Yoli will say, sis, how you doing? I have an option right then and there to say, life sucks for me right now, or good. And we choose to say, life sucks for me right now, and not lie or hide that. So if you don't have people you could be dark with, you got to find people that it's okay to be dark. Think about Eeyore. He got to be at every picnic, tea party. He was always there, and they never asked him not to be himself. Right?
But I want to say this too, Sissy, from a Malian perspective, because Ubuntu, from a Malian perspective, darkness also has beauty, right? So we can be dark, light, we can just be ourselves together. And when we think about Du Bois talking about dark people, and then Bettina bringing that language, and we talk about Queen Cynthia Dillard and darkened feminisms. So even in our darkness, there is our light, our beauty, as long as we can just be together.
Exactly.
Just be.
Yeah, I don't just talk about my sun sign, which is Scorpio. I talk about my moon sign as well, which is Taurus. You know, I'm moved by both, and things that are done in the dark can be healing, can be restorative. And so to not shy away from that, thank you so much, She Real, for bringing that up. Thank you.
She Real is real. That's why her name is She Real. Get it, boo.
And listen, there's a it's years old. It was a Kleenex commercial. I don't know if you all might have seen it. Years and years ago, this woman was sitting on the sofa, and I forgot what was going on, but she said, as she wiped the Kleenex, Black woman too, my tears never compromised my strength. So for me, like, I have remembered that, and I always have held on to that, because in this darkness, in this vulnerability, we are still strong. And I think very often, sometimes we say, oh, well, I don't want to reach out to my sisters because, or I don't want to reach out to this person, or I don't want to tell anybody about this because I don't want to appear weak. And the telling is part of the strength. The saying, you know what, sis, I need you, that's part of the strength. Reaching out is part of the strength. So I'm so glad and thankful that I have sisters in my life that I can do that to on any time, any day, doesn't matter what's going on. And they will let me be in that dark moment.
I forgot for a minute that I was the moderator. I was leaning into the conversation and forgot the next question that I want to ask. So let me try to bring this back before we go to our next break. when we think about being within a system that wasn't created with us in mind, you all have been teachers. There are probably many teachers who are viewing this webinar today, many teacher candidates, students in teacher preparation programs. What do you say to them when they wonder, what difference can I as one person in one classroom make? Am I making a difference? Is it possible for me to make a difference? I remember being so overwhelmed as a graduate student because the problems were so big and I was just one little me. So what do you tell them?
I can take a shot at that. First of all, the children that you serve will know that you're making a difference because they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you. I would have them maybe think about the people over time, singularly, who offered their wisdom, their lives, and shifted the world. When I talk with young people, I try to think a lot about those in the civil rights movements, young people 14, 15, 12 years old, willingly kind of carting themselves off to jail, right? Maybe not fully understanding, but knowing that they were fighting for a cause much bigger than them and continuing something that their ancestors had and their elders had began. So depending on the audience I'm with, that's why, we have to do that archaeology of the self, y'all. You have to know who you are. And when Dr. Jamila Liscott says, when you know who you are, then you know what you're fighting for, you know what you're fighting against. And so those of us who are moved to go into education, there's something deep in our spirit that we believe that we can make a difference. My hope, my goal is to keep that light shining and to remind them, well, why did you choose this profession in the first place? And to continue to stay on that path. Of course, you're going to make a difference. Sometimes you might be the only one in that entire school that child comes to school for. Sometimes you don't know. So you have to, as Sherelle said earlier, walk in your path. If you choose education, do it for real. Do it with your soul, because the kids are constantly watching and they know when you're giving your all and when you're not. Just be real. That's all. That's what I say. And, so many. Harriet, had it not been for Harriet, some of us couldn't have been here. I don't know my exact lineage. Harriet could have saved my ancestor that allowed my ancestors' to produce my grandmother and my mother, and here I am. Come on, y'all get where I'm going with this. You know you're worth it. You know you're worth it. You know who you are. You're a human being put on this earth at this particular time. How could you not think that that's purposeful?
Billy?
Yeah, I'll say quickly, my starting point in graduate school was reading Gloria Ladson Billings' work. And, we spread, far and wide from that work. But I know a lot of folks in education still go back to that ethic of care. And it's not just the nail nodding sense of, savior, superhero, but when we're in these spaces, how can we make a difference? It's also about identifying spaces for reciprocity and creating boundaries and healthy self-care practices. And you don't always have to be in front of your students or your children or your folks to pour into them. How are you meditating over them or praying over there or being mindful? How do you send light to them when you can't physically reach them? How do you think about them? How do you pull from yourself and also restore yourself? Because like, Yoli said, when you show up, that heart does more work than your mouth does. Your presence means so much more, but we can't carry it all. And to think that you can lends itself to a God complex that is very dangerous. So you have to know when and how and where to pull back, how to lean on other folks, and to know that you are planting seeds and you are not the only one that's planting, watering, harvesting, and all of that. So you have to be careful. And again, pour light, pour energy, write letters, pour love, even when you physically are not in their presence, because energetically, if we can still talk about Sister Harriet and Nikki and all of these people, energetically, we can do the work from years away, from miles away. So restoration is a great word as well.
Thank you. Thank you. There is a lot of activity in the chat, people responding to what you've shared and also sharing resources among this group, which is beautiful. It's time for us to have another musical interlude. We are joined by another dynamic sister, and I am going to introduce her right now. So what do John Legend, Lauryn Hill, Cardi B, Jasmine Sullivan, and many more of your favorite artists have in common? A powerhouse vocalist named Natalie Imani. Natalie is the featured vocalist on John Legend's recent album title song, Bigger Love, and she's also the featured vocalist on Cardi B's Saturday Night Live performance. She's traveled around the world with the likes of these artists and many others. Natalie is formally trained in music history and composition, having graduated from LaGuardia High School of the Performing Arts, and she also has a bachelor's degree in music business and communications from Monmouth University. Natalie, we are so honored that you're here with us today, and I am turning the stage over to you.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here. I'm really, really enjoying this event. It's so beautiful, and I want to say thank you to the Dope Women's Collective and to Nathaniel Smith and NYC Men Teach for having me. I'm going to do an original song, and it's called Hide Your Heart, in the spirit of sisterhood and so many of the things that you guys have mentioned today. It basically says, you don't have to hide your heart. We all are here for one another. You like to stand on the wall, trying not to fall, but your heart's so heavy. I see it all the walls you built around, I see through. I see the real you. I was hoping you'd let me love you, 'cause your eyes, I could see them in the darkest nights. In your eyes, it's like I'm looking through a clear blue sky. You don't have to hide your heart. You don't have to hide your tears. You don't have to fight alone. You don't have to be alone, alone, alone. Everyone needs someone to help pass the time. Isn't that the point of life? Let me in. All the walls you built around, I see through. I see the real you. So can you let me love you? 'Cause your eyes, I could see them in the darkest nights. In your eyes, it's like I'm looking through a clear blue sky. You don't have to hide your heart. You don't have to hide your tears. You don't have to fight alone. You don't have to be alone. I know you hear just what I'm saying. Love is here, so take it. You don't have to pretend with me, never. You don't have to hide your heart. You don't have to hide your tears. You don't have to fight alone. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to hide your heart. You don't have to hide your tears. You don't have to fight alone. You don't have to be could see them in the darkest night. In your eyes, it's like I'm looking through a clear blue sky.
Wow.
Yes, beautiful.
Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you. Thank you.
Oh, sister. Woo.
It
Wow.
almost feels as if you wrote that song especially for this occasion.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight alone. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to hide your heart. Natalie, that was so
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My
Thank you.
goodness.
Here's my question, along with you and Keandra. When are we all going on tour together?
Listen, come on,
Couldn't we just have like a sister
2023,
panel with some singing
2022.
between y'all sets? Like, could we be the special guest? Or like, hey, how do we get this thing going?
Well, you know,
Absolutely. I mean, I believe the Dope Women's Collective could go on tour. Let's all just get together and do these events.
Let's do the events.
Very powerful. Let's
Wow.
Yes. Let's
Y'all
bring
got-
in the youth.
it's-
Let's bring in the youth. Let's bring in
Absolutely,
the young
absolutely.
sisters so they can see
Yes.
what it's like to just be in collaboration and to sit in sisterhood.
go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gosh.
I'm also a life and music coach as well. So all of the things that you guys are discussing today really resonate with me, and I, utilize my teaching to everything that I've learned and experienced to share with my clients and coach them on the music side. So thank you guys for having me. This is really, really perfect, and I really enjoyed everything that you guys have said today.
Yeah, Natalie, I'm going to connect with you later.
Mhm.
Yes, I see, Sherelle. I see the wheels are turning. We've got music stuff. We've got editions of books. We've got artwork. We've got dope Black women.
Yeah.
And when you have that, the creativity
I
is
mean,
endless.
a dope Black women's stage play would be, really beautiful with everyone doing individual monologues around their coming to know self. And we have sisters on here singing. So I'm here for it.
Oh, Kiana. And you know that Kiana wrote a playlet on Goldie's book, Cultivating Genius.
Mhm.
And it was fire. It was beautiful.
Me
So,
and Natalie
yes.
can sit and do some wellness, some life coaching, some strategies.
Yes,
Our,
Sherelle.
our very
all-
handsome Essence Festival.
Hello.
We need essence.
Black Women's Collective Festival.
Hashtag
with
Black
with
Folks Are
Kiana's
Rich.
candles going in the back as our aromatherapy as we just set this groove. Let's get into it. Some meditation, right?
Wow.
Breath work, some yoga.
Poetry.
Love it.
Wow.
Come on, I'm ready for it.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I hope that, and I don't believe that this is in jest. I think that there is a lot that can come from this very conversation. And I was taking notes even earlier as you were talking about all of the different pieces that could stem from what you all have created among your group of dope Black women. So I agree. I was even thinking merchandising. Like there's some merchandising opportunities in the Dope Black Women's Collective. But I actually want to ask you a question about that, because when I introduced you all, I said that you aren't a professor only. You also each have other different efforts and ventures that you are fully engaged in, right? And so I wanted you to talk a little bit, and whoever would like to take this one can, about that entrepreneurial spirit that is a part of each and every one of you, and it's that in some ways even led to the creation and formation of this group. What do you have to say about that? Help people understand how you tapped into that. And then I have another question, which I'm going to write down so I don't forget it.
Billy, I want you to talk about RIP. I think that was one thing that we missed when we were talking about what all we do.
Thank you, sis. Yeah, so this time gave me the space to develop my own LLC. And it is called Radical Identity Praxis. And the idea is, what does it look like to practice liberation every day? And it's based on 4 movements: telling the story of home and recording it, reconnecting with the Black diaspora, rewarding yourself with healing, and then repeating those steps. And so when I first, so the side story to that is when I first started developing this with one of my sisters, Shanice, uh, Yoli was giving a presentation like a few weeks later. Everybody's heard this story before, but Yoli was giving a presentation a few weeks later and was showing her PowerPoint slides and all of this and her diagrams. And my sister was sitting in the audience and she was like, oh my God, what Yoli was presenting looks exactly like radical identity praxis. And I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, like Yoli has his platform, Yoli's Yoli, like, you know, somebody's already doing it. And so they started chastising me lovingly, and my husband, and was like, if that's your sister, go talk to her. And the first thing that Yoli said when I called her, all nervous, like all of a sudden I became little sister, like I'm crouching. And she's like, Sissy, tell me about this. And the second I told her, she was just like, what do you need? And there's room for all of us. She's like, you take the West Coast, I take the East Coast, we take the world. She's like, what do you need? And I didn't even know how to answer her. So that whole like, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I'm like, because I wasn't expecting the conversation to even go in that direction. So radical identity praxis is my baby. And the first step is working with Black folks to tell and record their stories of home, developing interview protocols. And the mantra is Black folks are rich. We're rich because we have stories to tell. We are wealthy because we have a lineage. And just because we understand that that lineage was cut by the Ma'afa, it doesn't mean that we can't tell the stories of Kentucky and Mississippi and Chicago and relish in the things that we have built here and are gifting to our children to continue to build and heal. So yeah, thank you. But that happened in the COVID.
That's beautiful. Kiana, did you want to add?
I was just going to add, and I think this might be true to an extent for all of us in terms of how we got to the entrepreneur aspect, is that we just started doing what we love. Yoli loves writing poetry. Billy loves documenting. You know, Sherelle loves coaching and helping and making sure we're well. I love buying candles. So at some point I was like, you know what, let me make some. And it started as a self-care practice. So I think for me at least, and sisters, y'all can chime in, I feel like that the entrepreneur was kind of second to us answering the call again to be our authentic selves and to contribute to this world in ways that felt right for us.
Sis, amen. You know, my brain actually just thinks this way. This, you know, the academy is my second career, maybe even my third. I was a high school teacher, night high school teacher. I worked 13 years in corporate America. I was actually, believe it or not, the first African-American marketing director for NYU, the School of Continuing and Professional Studies. I worked for Business Week, and I worked for the New York Times. And so I created campaigns. So when I came to the academy, I think that's also what was a protective factor. Not that you could probably believe that corporate America or anything of capitalism could be a protective factor, but it was, because I came into the academy as an outsider, and I feel like I've remained an outsider. I think in terms of campaigns. I think in terms of when Sister Danette, when you said merchandise, Love from the Vortex has T-shirts, the candle, the new book, you know, all of these things. That's how my mind automatically goes. The IG show, and I can't explain it. It's how I think. So for me, the entrepreneurial spirit is just in me. It's something that was probably passed from an ancestor. I could probably, if I dug deep enough, I would find, you know, entrepreneurs, you know, in my family, but it's naturally, it's the way that I think. And even when I teach my classes, I teach a different class every year to keep it relevant, because whatever happens on the outside, I need to pull it in. And that's very much like someone who's trying to keep their product, if you will, relevant. Does the market need it now? And which markets? And how do you market? And to whom? Yes. So that's my mindset. And I need to try to package that somehow. Or maybe not. Maybe I just keep living like this.
That's right.
And I agree with Key. It's the work that I do outside of the academy is my heart's work. I show up for Black girls. My research, I always included families, parents, because when I was a teacher, any level of success that I had in the classroom is because my students' parents were actively involved with me. I was actively involved with them. And so when I started doing this kind of work, what my girls kept saying is, oh, it's therapeutic. I never had a place to be vulnerable. And then, I'd be talking to somebody's mom and she'd just pour, right? And so I'm like, man, we don't really have space to just be able to come undone, to have a space to be unjudged, right? And so I said, as I always do, I could wait for somebody to do it or I could create it myself. And so I was already doing it unofficially. I was already coaching people unofficially. I had a standing Tuesday appointment with one of my little sisters, right? And so I just decided, I'm going to go, I'm going to learn. What are we? We're scholars. I'm going to go, I'm going to learn. I'm going to get this life coaching certification. And then I just said last year, all right, who wants to talk? And women could be like, me, I need to talk. I need to talk. I need to talk. And it has been overwhelming because I knew we needed it. I did know that because I needed it. I just didn't know how many people were going to flock and say, yo, I need to talk. Somebody to listen. I need advice. I need a cheerleader. I need support. right? So it has been received beautifully. But for me, my thing is, I'm not your superhero. You get to be the superhero of your story, right? I just get to be a cheerleader along the way. So I'm just enjoying being able to ensure that the women and the girls that I work with understand just how dope they are, because sometimes it gets buried underneath all the other stuff, all the world stuff, all the institutional stuff. And my goal is just to dust it off and say, look, you dope.
Sherelle, in the spirit of words, can you talk about why you named it Beyond?
Oh, okay. So my coaching is Beyond Life Coaching. All of my social media is Beyond Well Coach. The new Instagram is Beyond_Well_Coach. But the reason that it's called Beyond is because when I thought and I reflected on myself, I really created this name when I was in my doctoral studies, when I was starting my dissertation work and working with Black girls. I really had to think about myself first. Well, who am I as a Black girl, right? I got a PhD, I'm associate professor, but I wear a grill because I'm from Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, Key, get it? I wear a grill when I go out, right? You know what I'm saying? I love God, right? And I greatly enjoy Pac. He is my favorite rapper. And then Andre 3000, right? So, I was just thinking of the various ways that I am me. My Black girlhood, my Black womanhood isn't bound up in anybody else's definition. I reserve the right to define myself for myself. And so I said, well, girls who will work with me, I need them to understand that they are beyond the perception of anybody else and that they get to define themselves for themselves. So that's where the name Beyond came from. My dissertation was called Beyond Your Perception. I am the Beyond Well Coach, right? What do you want to live beyond? Your pain, your past, your procrastination, your self-doubt, this imposter syndrome. What are those things that we want to move past? Because we sometimes confine ourselves in these boxes, but we are so beyond that.
That's a mic drop moment right there. And I am so full.
Rap names. This brings up the rap names, Danette. We did the last time.
That's right.
Then I gotta say my rap name is She Real. They call me She Real because I'm the truth.
Love it. You each have rap names that I think, have you given each other those rap names? No, they have just, like the collective, they have just emerged organically. I love it. Okay. So I am so full and grateful and in disbelief that our time is almost up. So I am going to call, can you believe that? Almost. So I am going to call Nathaniel back to the stage because he is going to help us facilitate some Q&A from the audience. But I have one more thought as he's coming on that I'd like for each of you to comment on. So we've heard a number of people say, and I've been looking at the boxes on the screen, like this is something that needs to be done with some sort of consistency so that more people are reached by the conversation that you're having. And as I thought about that, and the importance of it, what struck me is that the way that you are together serves as a model, because being this way is not innate for everyone. I believe that. You know, there are some people who probably want to operate in this way, but either have never seen it happen, or Sherelle, to the point that you just made, or no, I don't know who made the point. Maybe it was Billy who said Black folks are rich, but some of us operate from a place of scarcity. And so therefore we don't have anything else to give to someone else. So one of the main reasons why I do think you have to figure out a way to make these conversations available to others is because it's such a beautiful model of how we can be together. So that's a statement of fact, but I don't know if any of you have a comment on it as Nathaniel is coming to join.
I think you dropped the mic. Would we say that Sister Donette dropped the mic on that one? Wow.
Yeah. So
I would say, don't be afraid to reach out, right?
Please.
Where are you? It could be wherever you want us to be, right? Because yeah, I think that there is some, Billy said it when we first started, I am full. And that's what we're seeing in the chat, is that people are being full. And you know, especially in this time, and I don't even mean COVID, there are multiple pandemics that if you Black, you maneuvering right now. If you're a person of color, you are maneuvering right now. If you're a woman, you are maneuvering multiple pandemics at the same time, right? And so what are ways that we can join together to replenish ourselves, right? And so we hear all the time, I can't pour from an empty cup. And sometimes you gotta sip as you pour, right? So how am I being refilled while I'm filling others? And I think that we do that together. I really sincerely hope that you all have been filled, right? And that empowers you to go out and fill others. But when we're saying, how can we do this in other spaces? It's just a matter of saying we want it done.
So Nathaniel, I'm going to turn it over to you, but first I have to put in a pitch because I need a part 2. I have about 8 categories of questions, not 8 individual questions, 8 categories of questions that I have not been able to get to. So I would like for this conversation to continue, but thank you again for giving me the opportunity to be among and amidst the Dope Black Women Collective. So Nate, the floor is yours. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Everybody, can we just give it up for these wonderful Black women who have blessed us this past hour? I mean, so much has been said, so much has been done. We thank each and every last one of you. And we have some more thank yous at the end, but I just wanted to, before I get into the Q&A, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the brothers who are in the room who came in support of the sisters on tonight. Dr. Travis Bristol, Dr. Edmund Ajapong from Columbia, William Anders, our CUNY-wide NYC Menteach Director, Ruben Kwanzaa, our director at Borough Manhattan Community College, and Eric Conti, who's at Kingsborough Community College, Dwayne Cumberbatch, who's at Bronx Community College. Thank you, brothers, for coming and in support of our sisters. So questions did come in through the registration. We thank you so much for sending those in. The first question is, what's one thing we as Americans need to focus on to advance the leadership of Black women in this country?
Free ourselves of white supremacist thinking.
Come on.
That's it right there.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, get out of the way. Get that out of the way. Absolutely.
Move, get out the way. Do I hear Busta Rhymes? Okay, come on, Yoli.
I say Luda, get out of the way.
Don't just hire, help me, y'all. I thought it was Busta.
Shout out Atlanta.
Okay, Atlanta.
No, don't just hire 1 or 2 of us and say that the job is done, because then that's unfair labor. Then we're breaking our backs and you'll say we tried and we did it and it didn't work. But because I've been in spaces where it's like, well, we already got one, we don't need another. Hello, we need is my undergraduate I came from a department that had 4 Black women with terminal degrees. And that seemed unheard of in a department, but everybody, we're not a monolith. Everybody has a different research agenda and a different approach. So don't just be one and done. We are massive. So,
and sisters, don't feel like because you're there that you have to be the only one, right? There's enough space, there's enough room. I work in the same department as our sister, Dr. Patina Love, hip hop. When I interviewed and she told me one of the feedback was, well, she does hip hop too. She said, and how many of y'all do what y'all do? What Sherelle writes about is a different stance and a different perspective than the hip hop work that I do, right? She didn't feel any sort of, well, she do hip hop, so maybe she shouldn't be here. Maybe I should be the only one. No, you ain't got to be the only one. And what does it look like to collaborate and not be there alone? So we got to talk about, what they do. Right. But we also have to talk about how we have been indoctrinated in their system and start to carry out and perpetuate the things that they have laid onto us. No. We don't need to pick that up. We need to put that down.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I think that this goes well with the next question from Jamie Vault. Where do you find the energy to consistently do this work?
Billy the ocean.
Billy the ocean right now. Exhausted, all of us.
Where do you find the energy? So here's my answer. By not doing those things that I don't want to do. Yep. Sometimes we start to take on everything because we think that we have to, or we should, or that it makes us look a certain way to our department or our program, or we join every committee at AERA or whatever your organizations are, like, hey, what can you do? What is in my capacity for doing and being right now? In the pandemic, I'm homeschooling my son. I have the capacity for myself, my child, and my clients who are Black women and girls. That's my capacity. If I miss a meeting, I miss the meeting. I'm not there. So I'm finding energy by not feeling the need to juggle everything. And that's what we do. We know that's what we do. We saw our mama do, we saw grandma do it, to do everything. No, I just let the balls drop.
I want to bring I'm sorry, go ahead, Sister Danette.
Excuse me, I apologize. I just wanted to follow up on that question and that answer by asking, what if we are not in a privileged position to get to not do something we don't want to do?
Yeah.
What if the way that I maintain my existence and my family's existence, that job is something I really don't even want to do? I don't want to go to that job. I don't like it. I don't like the people that I work with.
Yeah.
When I think about going to work, my stomach starts to hurt, right?
Yeah.
What if I'm in that position in this moment? How do I figure it out?
Yeah, I think that you have to know the capacity of your boundaries, right? And remember, when we institute boundaries, it's not for other people to respect, it's for us to reinforce, right? So what are the ways in which you are doing work before your allotted time? What are ways that you are doing work after your allotted time? What are ways that you are doing work on the weekends? You can say that I'm going to work from 9 to 5, right? And I know that when we're in institution, the times change, right? But that means if there's a meeting at 7, 8 o'clock, and I've had colleagues, oh, well, let's have this meeting at 8. 8 is my time with my child. I got to put him to bed. That's not what I have the capacity to do. So I can do it at this time. And if it's not at this time, I'll check the meeting notes, right? And so I definitely recognize that we have certain privileges, but I also think sometimes we get so caught up in what if, right? But what if you just took care of yourself? What if that was your top priority? Because what if you just fell out flat? What would your job do? They find ways to move on.
They'll send a bouquet of flowers and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We valued her as an employee.
So how do you take care of yourself holistically?
I'll add to that, vision boarding, and not just necessarily in a traditional sense, but drawing pictures, writing notes to yourself. I was in such a toxic space with the weight gain, the stress it took on my marriage and everything else. Racial battle fatigue was about to take me out. And, I was the primary income person for my house. So it wasn't a matter of like, you know, my no's were yeah, but I was saying a whole lot more yeses than I could fathom. And everybody knows this, you know, we got pushed out in the water, Sherelle. But anyway, it took Tina saying, you know, and it took Sherelle to ask me, what do you want? Because I had been doing it for so long and I was good, and I'm good at what I do. I can make a syllabus in my sleep. I can teach, I can love on my students. The stressors of it though, I was not doing what I love. And so I kept having to ask myself, what do you want? And I didn't know anymore. And that to me was the problem. So me having a vision board and saying, what is my exit strategy? Like, if this is killing me, if this is killing my marriage, this is taking me away from my child, I gotta exit, and I gotta trust God, and I gotta trust everybody else that this money is not if I'm chasing this and I didn't lost my damn identity behind this stuff, no, because then it become about bills. Mm-hmm. So I started scrapbooking again. And I, you know, and playing again and cooking again and finding joy outside. So when I do set those boundaries, I can go do something else. Because it's just like an addiction with smoking or eating. Like, I'm so used to being on a computer. It's like, well, if you're not on a computer, what else are you gonna go do? Like, so.
And when you're good at what you do, right? You are in that space because they need you there. They need the work that you do. And so part of the work of any institution is to get you to devalue yourself. You need this job. You need this promotion. You need this award. You need this pay, but you need me too.
Absolutely.
You need me too. The work that I'm doing with these students, the work that I'm doing on these committees, the work, blah, 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 you need me too. But what they try to do is convince you to disregard your own worth. And as soon as you take that up and you own it, their power is limited when you know your power.
Listen, y'all can't see, but my wife is off screen and she's just amening like me to death off of everything that y'all are saying. So if she's enjoying it, then I know that we're on the right track. Everybody, we are past the 5:30 mark, but I want to get this one last question. I think it's so perfect for the last question. And I want to say thank you, everybody, for hanging with us. The last question is, how do you prevent burnout when your heart, this is from Shireen Silva, how do you prevent burnout when your heart is all in, so you keep doing more and more?
That kind of connects to the previous question a little bit, the response in my mind at least. But I would definitely say, don't deny yourself pleasure. Don't deny yourself joy. Take time to do what you want to do. And also the part about when your heart is all in it, listen, this is the thing. And I'm talking about from a relationship standpoint, but these jobs are relationships too. At the end of the day, you have to understand you can only do so much. And you can put all of you into something. And if what you want to get out isn't happening, then you need to get out. And by that, I mean, you need to escape. You need to do something to make sure that you don't have that burnout. You need to say, okay, well, these are the things that I understand I can impact. These are the things that I know that they're going to do. One of the things that I have very open conversation. I will say this, I am thankful so far for the chair that I have in my department, because I will go to him with an idea. And I have said to him very, very explicitly, listen, don't tell me yes and then let everybody else give me pushback, because then I'm wasting my time. I got my heart in it. Let me know, what am I going to do? What am I going to be able to do? What am I going to be up against? And so that I can make an informed decision, and then I can decide, informed decision, and then I can decide whether or not I want to fully engage. And then I will also be able to decide when I need to step back and take care of myself so that I'm not burned out.
And I just want to add to this. I know we're out of time, but I just wanted to add to this, that if your heart is truly in it, then self-care is a priority. Because if there is no you, the work can't get done. So in order to take care of all of these other people, I have to take care of myself. I have to get the massage. I got to go to therapy. I got to hit the gym. I got to drink the water. I got to be light on the bread and the fries, right? You don't have to give it away. Be light on it and get a little salad to the side, you know what I mean? But you have to, right? I say this to moms all the time, but if you don't take care of you, if something happens to you, who takes care of your kids? You have to take care of you in order to keep the thing going. So if it really is your heart work, then you have to be your top priority.
Put your oxygen mask on first.
Come on. Part 2, right now. No, I'm joking. Nate's like, no, we not. Part 2 starts now.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, yo, can we all give it up for the dope Black women, Dr. Danette Howard, Dr. Sankofa Waters, Dr. Sherelle MacArthur, Dr. Yolanda Silly Ruiz, Dr. Kiana Cutts, Natalie Amani, Keandra Lockett. Thank you for blessing us tonight. I want to give a special shout out to also the dope Black women that are part of NYC Men Teach.
Yes.
Connie Ramos Bayam, Shamika Brathwaite, and Fatima Sharif. Thank you for all the work that you are doing. We see you, we hear you, we recognize you. This program is all about celebrating women, our Black women, our women of color, and the great things that you're doing in education. So apparently, y'all want a part 2. So
bring it. Let's do it. In the words of D Nice, let's go.
Let's go. All right. So
Nate, we have to thank you. We have to thank you.
Go ahead, please, Kiana. Can you just throw him some flowers right now?
Yes, we absolutely have to thank you for bringing us together, for pulling this together, and for just providing the platform. One of the things that we don't do often enough is, people talk about giving a voice. You don't have to give anybody a voice, just open the platform. So we thank you so much for this space and opportunity.
Love you, brother.
And we said this in the first call, and I'm gonna say it again, especially since we are talking about this publicly. This is Black love. We tend to talk about Black love when it relates to an intimate partner, but this is Black love. Dr. Smith opening the space for the sisters to do this work, right? Like, I'm gonna just create the space. Sisters, you do what you're gonna do, but we gonna support you. That's Black love.
Oh.
And so I love you, brother, and I appreciate you.
Yes, I love you too, brother. And I love your queen, Nadine. She is
Come on, queen in the background. We love you.
Come on, queen. Thank y'all. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, thank you so much. So thank you for allowing us into your home. Thank you for enjoying the program on tonight. You will hear from us again, but until then, good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Melissa. Bye, Venetia. Hey, Nadine. I see you, queen.
Yoli, I sent you the forms for the vendor licenses.
Oh, Sissy, let's talk about that. Let's get the t-shirts on. Hey, Nina, Romello.
Shireen, thank you. I saw your comments in the chat. Thank you.
Love you.
Love you.
Sister Christine.
Thank
you.
you.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, Romello, look at you.
Thank
Always.
you.
Travis, love you, Travis.
Thank you.
Lanice, love you. Oh my goodness. Family.
So good to see you all.
Yeah.
Take care.
Travis.
Sorry, yeah.
No, never apologize. You are here. I hear your
I'm
voice
transit,
and I smile.
Yes, I
right, Sherelle? You hear Travis's voice and you want to smile. I don't know if Edmund is still here, but if you are, Brother Edmund, I love you.
Yoli,
deeply.
I love you.
I love you, honey. Go eat something. Go drink some water.
You already knew.
Go ahead. Go.
We'll talk soon.
All right, baby. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Nadine, love you. Bye, sis. You look beautiful. Yes. Bye, Nate. Brother Nate, love you. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.